Hi, my name's Chels Marshall. I'm a cultural ecologist and I undertake work in regenerative design and planning, but with Indigenous ideology attached to that, so that areas can move beyond regenerative into a space of thriving. And part of that design paradigm is to be inclusive of this concept of designing from country and designing with and for country. And so what that means is basically that you're having a look at what country needs, and then how we as humans actually don't essentially live on the country, but in and as part of those processes that already exist in country. And whether that be the process of the elements of how water flows, the process of how wind moves through the place, or the processes of what species also live here and how we exist and coexist with all these other species and other life forms and entities that are already here without being the dominant. It's basically taking a step back from that old thought process and mindset of then having a look at more so, what's good for country, what does this country need, given that there's been so many different practices and land uses over time that have really impacted on the native vegetation, the native lay of the land, and the ecological processes. So how do we take that breath and how do we step back and then actually listen to what country needs, as opposed to what our primary needs are in the space? So that designing from country is having a look and listening and actually seeing, not just looking, but actually seeing what country needs, and then how do we facilitate those needs. It's a common variable where lots of people seem to assume that Aboriginal tradition and Aboriginal culture is dead, or it's highly consists of like stones and bones and an ancient culture and a traditional culture. But we are highly adaptive. We're the oldest living sustainable culture in the world, and the reasons is how our resilience mechanisms come through, how our adaptability comes through, and that's all part of an ideology and a mindset. So when we talk about our cultural perspectives and our cultural realms and our cultural insert into how we do design, it's those sort of metaphysics that come with us, and it's those things where we do see the world differently, and that's okay. That's something that can be embraced, because if everyone thought the same, we'd be living in very much a very boring world. Bringing these new perspectives and these new ideologies and new worldviews into design, it actually makes it an exciting space. Our culture has always been innovative, adaptive, and evolving. We are inventors. Our mind and our logic is always moving in those directions. It makes no difference now that we stand here in 2026. It's part of our DNA and how we're made up as part of our mindset and our view on things. The potential and the exciting components of this project is that it's a parcel of land that has a history, and its history extends beyond the built form. It extends beyond it being colonised. So being able to bring that story to the surface is one of the exciting things. The other exciting thing is working with a team of like-minded people that understand that putting country first and what country needs, and how we do restorative work on making systems, the ecological systems, live or come to life again, is always exciting. And then what that then brings to the place makes it a more livable space for people to be able to interact with nature and to really understand, the ecological processes and environmental processes that are happening at their doorstep. The exciting thing is that then promotes them to become, caretakers in that space, and shifting that whole mindset of being able to live in harmony with your environment and with your space, and be in harmony and balance with nature. And that will make a community more adaptable and more resilient when you start to look at how we become those things in the face of climate change.